Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight it is April 23rd and there's this thing called full moon that's going on tonight. So I figured we could take a peek into the kind of energy that's coming forward, see what the moon, the sun, and some of the other planets are playing and how nice they're being with each other. And then we'll just pull a couple of cards for each of the elements to see where we're at energetically there. And so to start off with, the moon in the full moon in April is in Scorpio, but the sun is in Taurus. So we've got those two right off the bat. The moon's energy this month is leading to overcoming intense feelings, working through compulsive habits and behaviors, kind of those OCD, those intense things you just feel you have to do and have no good reason for it type of energy. And it also works to expose power struggles. So this is going to be an interesting lunar cycle, to say the least. There's a lot of powerful clearing that is going on with this moon's energy. So that's just kind of an overview. We'll kind of break things down here. As I said, I'm not really super strong with the astrology. I'm trying to learn, and so we'll research and work through that with you guys. The Scorpio moon has a lot of challenge with it. Just kind of the nature of that deep intuition, that enhancement of psychic abilities from the full moon. Then you throw in Scorpio on top of it, and things get interesting. During this particular full moon, though, Scorpio moon is working against Pluto. They call this being squared of each other in the zodiac, or in astrology. Basically, they're at a 90-degree angle to each other, so they're having this like hostility towards each other, not the most pleasant situation to be in. And that kind of sets us up for some interesting energies this month, especially right now during the full moon period. Pluto is preparing to go retrograde at around the first part of May. I believe the exact date is May 2nd, but we'll won't get into all that. But what it's doing right now is it is standing basically still in planetary movement. Pluto doesn't look like it's moving because it's going to shift into a reversal as our perspective, starting that first part of May. So there's some intensity with that, which is not always pleasant because Pluto's got some interesting energy with it. It really wants to bring up the buried stuff, the stuff that you've repressed. No, I'm fine. Really, I'm fine. And as you shove the door and hoping it stays closed, the older generation will get this reference probably more so than the younger, although maybe. But the concept of Fibber McGee's closet, where you just keep shoving one more thing in there and hope the door stays shut. Pluto's going to kick the door open. So that's where, going into retrograde, Pluto tends to stir things up a little bit. This particular energy leads to emotions being very raw, and if you have a short fuse, it's already been lit type of energy, and if your fuse is not short, it's going to be for the next week or so. If you have OCD and things like that, it's going to be enhanced. So just be aware that if you feel a lot more twitchy than normal, there's a reason for it. You're not going crazy. And other less than pleasant emotions are brought to the surface with Pluto getting ready to go backwards. It's that pause period, and then it's just going to stir everything up. So you're basically you stir the pot one direction, then you stop and you harsh spin it the other way, and it just flies everywhere. That's what we're looking at here. Not fun. I laugh out of just like, of course the planets are going to drive us crazy this year. Things like jealousy, abruptness are two of the big ones that keep popping up in multiple places that I was looking at. There's other things kind of using guilt as a weapon, And this could be someone using against you. It also could be you using it against another person. So just be aware of that. And they also reference in multiple different places, astrology.com and things like that, talk about with Pluto getting ready to go retrograde with the moon in Scorpio, manipulation is going to be a big theme for this time period. But the moon showing up in this mess is actually bringing it to light. So yes, there are people trying to manipulate a situation. There's people, and it could be, just saying, it could be you using that too. But with this particular lunar cycle, it's bringing that stuff to light where people are going to notice that this is what's going on, and that can actually shake things up and bring some healing to the situation. So even though this doesn't sound pleasant, and it didn't sound pleasant, I was trying to find ways to make this sound better. The core of what's happening, the subconscious part, because the moon works in the intuitive world, is very rough. And I'm not sugarcoating that, I'm being honest, it's rough. But there is some good stuff. We'll get into that a little bit later. We're going to get this dirty stuff out of the way first. This energy, this more negative energy, can manifest in extremes, though. And that's the part where you have to be very careful about staying grounded during this time. It can cause your shadow to flare up. As I said, Pluto doesn't like things being hidden away. It is the planet of secrets. And when it goes retrograde, it's going to pull all of yours to the surface. So the next few months or so while Pluto's retrograde, could be years, I didn't get into all that. There's going to be a lot of things that were repressed coming to the surface. Some of the other unpleasant aspects of not just the shadow, but it could lead to bullying as a defensive mechanism. Being aware of it also slows it down. And other forms of, I'll use the term abuse, but it's every aspect, and you can fill that in however you see. Those are all things that can come to the surface, and in most of the situations that I was reading about, it was more of an energetic thing. So things that were in the past that you have kind of repressed. No, I healed through that. I'm good. I'm totally fine. Those things just trigger me really bad. You didn't heal from it, obviously, if that's still the case. And this is what's going to be brought forward with Pluto going pause and then retrograde, is all that stuff that we all like to say that we're fine, we've healed from it, we're okay, but we're not. We just know how to put on that beautiful painted face and say, yes, no, we're great. But we're not. And so just be aware that that kind of stuff can cause some flare-ups. With that being said, and this is something that I'm experiencing myself and at least figured out why, your sleep patterns during this period of time, and this started about 2-3 days ago, and it will go for up to 2 weeks depending on the person, really, because it's where your signs are as well. It can trigger really intense sleepless periods. It can trigger your emotions to be really fried, where you can be laughing at a joke but crying at the same time. So don't feel like you're losing your mind. You're not. We just have some planets that are basically demanding that we heal. It's not an option at this point. They're getting very aggressive about this. And that's not a bad thing. When we repress emotions, all it does is bury them to come up later, and it usually comes up in really ugly ways. So we drag that stuff to the surface and work through it and heal through it. It actually makes it better. It just takes some time to process it. But blessedly, as all of this stuff is boiling over, it brings the healing to light. It is a good time to do some shadow work, sitting with yourself, accepting those parts that are damaged, loving that inner child that is trying to hide from the shadow, the monster, the boogeyman, so to speak. Because when you work through that, it brings that stuff into the present moment. It's not an easy process. Shadow work is exceptionally messy emotionally, and people who say, oh, I worked through that, I worked through my shadow, it took me no time at all, are lying. Straight up calling them out, you're lying. Because when you do shadow work, makes you face the parts of yourself that you may not want to. Those repressed parts are pushed back for a reason. But when you bring that stuff forward and you allow yourself to clear out that heavy energy, to feel those emotions fully. And it's better to have someone you can trust as you process. A lot of times, some people can actually do this on their own. It's really rough, but they can handle it. And I'm not saying you're strong or weak. It's just a matter of what you have available. If you have someone available to work through it and call them after you do these sessions of shadow work, you need someone to be able to vent to and ground yourself with. Shadow work is very intense. It is very stressful. It can be very freeing. It's something that we all work on, and from experience, when you process through this, it makes it worth the struggle, but it takes time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes some very deep staring at yourself in a mirror, accepting that you have a temper. You may be overweight. You may have some random addiction to something like caffeine. It takes a lot of honesty to be able to sit with yourself and say, I see you. I understand you have that emotion from a trauma that happened when you were 12, 15, last week. Bringing that stuff to the surface is never easy, and work with what comes forward. Don't go digging around back there. Trust me, you don't need to. When you start working through this, stuff will pop up. Whatever pops up, that's what you're working on. That's what you're ready to heal. And that's what Pluto, with this particular lunar balance, is going on. They're bringing that stuff forward to work through and heal. So, and this isn't just a personal thing. So, being an election year, this could get really interesting worldwide. This kind of clearing, this kind of shadow work can be collective as well. It can be for your city, your state, your province, your country. Gaia herself could be having some growth pains right now. So this is going to bring some of those darker aspects of the populace to light. It's going to expose the secrets. It's going to reveal the repressed. The mask that hides is going to be destroyed. So all of that stuff is going to start to boil to the surface during this retrograde period, especially for Pluto. It just happens to be getting kicked off and set in motion during this full moon cycle. So be ready. With the full moon adding extra oomph to that squared Pluto, this can lead to very deep, not fun, but super healing practices if you use the awareness of illumination, because the moon is very intuitive. It brings in that intuitive sensitivity, and that allows us to comprehend what's really going on. Generally, it shows you some next steps to process, so it's not just doom and gloom here. This is really about fixing things. This is a time to look at habits, addictions, relationships, and I say them in that order for a reason. Are there places that you need to work on? Are there things that need to be released? Are there relationships that need to be adjusted because the power dynamic, the energy dynamic, when I say power, I do mean energy. I don't really give a crap about the rest of it. But when you bring that energy back into a balanced state, the masculine and feminine flowing together, the positive and the negative flowing together, the light and the dark flowing together, that's healthy. When they're out of balance, that's the part that needs to be examined as to why it's not. And balance in that aspect is not what we think in today's culture. And I'm not saying that's bad. Some of that stuff's good. But look at the core meanings of a balance. The roots go back. Go look back and see what the balances were and bring that forward. And you'll notice that things are a little bit different when you start applying some of those frameworks to things. Anywho, Jupiter and Uranus are in agreement. They're having a really good conversation right now. Everything that I read is like, they're buddies, they're sitting down, they're laughing, they're telling the best dad jokes on the planet. Uh, so they're working really well together, which is amazing. And considering what I just went over, have some good news. This leads to a lot of great fun and fun opportunities. When Jupiter is in a good mood and working with its neighbors, whatever the neighbor's process is, Jupiter's going to bring that into the most positive, enjoyable state possible. Self-awareness is front and center. Uranus is about secrets bringing forward, not as deep as Pluto, but you do have some of that coming forward as well. But you have some emotional and spiritual growth that is coming up really easy, though. It's not so much stress. So what's processing through with Pluto working with the moon's roughness there, it's actually being smoothed by Jupiter and Uranus. This energy helps to soothe relationships, finding those balances a little bit easier. Jupiter loves to keep everyone happy, in good spirits, safely moving through this, journey we call life. And this also leads to some powerfully creative ways to fix and heal the parts that are ready to be processed and move forward. It's not so simple as, well, I have to do this thing and it has to be this exact way. Jupiter's like, why? You can do the healing. Let's try something different. Instead of journaling, let's get out the finger paints. Instead of sitting there in deep meditation, let's go for a walk and throw some rocks in the water. Let's skip some rocks. And as you do that, you release. Jupiter's about having fun while you're healing, not just sitting there as a boring, this is what I have to do because it's what I was told. Jupiter's like, throw that crap out the window. You got things to do. Let's have fun with this. Let's brighten the environment. Just because you're healing, it doesn't mean you have to be so sterile about it. And honestly, that's probably some of the best information and best news you could find is Jupiter's like, let's have fun with this. Let's process. Let's do the healing, but let's not get bogged down in the gunk. So that's a good thing. As this full moon period is generally moon opposite sun, in most cases, you can have some clearing work to do, obviously. In this instance, with the moon in Scorpio, it brings to light conflicts of opposites, finding those balances, exposing imbalances of life, work, and home, any relationship that you have, friendships, or other platonic or amorous relationships, inner versus outer workings, the wants, the needs, etc. It's the revealing of opposites that also is what Scorpio is known for with its tension. But hold your ground, get your grounding cord set up, connect into Gaia, really feel that energy coming from God's source divine, and start to examine what's coming up. Work with that Jupiter-Uranus energy and find fun ways and maybe even some unorthodox ways to process those traumas and griefs and etc. that comes forward. And the upside to all of this, and there's a lot of up, it's just starts off a little rough. It is that exposing of conflict allows you to use your strengthened and heightened emotions and intuition. You can tap into your subconscious and see the way the energy flows at that deep, deep level. And then you can allow yourself to clean up that vibe. Bring in Christ energy. Bring in prayers with angels and with God's source divine, the Lord and Lady. Just bring that stuff in. And how can you clean? How can you refresh? How can you remove those dark threads and that little those little fuzzies that get stuck on your sweaters that just drive you crazy? How can you remove all of that stuff so you can move forward in a much healthier state? These are the really awesome parts of working with full moon energies. With the sun in Taurus, your outward focus is going to be on the hearth, home, prosperity. It's very stable, very strong, very firm foundation. Taurus is very grounded in that aspect. But you got that moon in Scorpio, and that's where the inner world needs to be taken to the tower card. Break some of that stuff down, take the parts that you need to fix and that you can use, purge the rest, burn it off in Scorpio's fire. It's water, but you know what I'm saying. We'll go with that. And then to use those good building blocks to fix and build something much more magnificent, something much more in your, I don't want to use the word glory, but in your best interests. We'll use that. So when you're working with that, the ancient traditions on full moons, well, some of the modern ancient traditions, they do things where they bring in the lunar energy on the full moon to clear out and heal. Go outside tonight when watch the full moon. Just gaze. You don't even have to think anything. Just literally look up at the sky, find the moon, and just watch her. Allow your mind to wander, and you'll notice, you start to relax. There's something very, very cathartic about staring at the moon. You just feel better. But the other part is, as you're doing that, you're gazing, allow yourself to release. If you feel tears, let them flow. If you feel giggles, giggle. There's times where you'll stand out there staring at the moon, and I've had this experience where you'll be giggling like a little kid hearing a funny joke while tears are streaming down your face. But you feel so relaxed. It's just like there's a release occurring, because it's an emotional one. And that's a really good, positive, easy exercise that you can do with the full moon energy, especially this time. If there's something specific that's bothering you, go out, stare at the moon, and say, I release this energy. I release this situation, and let it go. And just feel the moon guiding you on the next steps of what are some things you can do to heal that, release it, and make sure it doesn't come back. So, with that, we'll just take a quick little peek in with the tarot to see what the elements have got going on. If there's anything specific that comes forward for each of the 4 elements, we'll start with fire, which covers Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. I'm only pulling a couple of cards. This is just to get kind of a general vibe for where the elements are in the bigger picture here. And if they resonate for you, awesome. If it doesn't, maybe it's your energy alignments are a little bit different, and that's fine. With that, we'll get started here. Fire, your first one is number 19, the sun. So the sun is coming forward to say, fire, you're in your spotlight. You are already in the station of revealing secrets. You're already in that space of burning off the dregs. So for you, right off the bat, your first card here anyway, is saying you're in the position to reveal. You're revealing your own secrets, you're working through them, and by that you're also shining that light to help others see their shadows and start to process that. You're not involved. I'm making that very clear. You are not actively involved in their work, but you're helping them see their work. They may come to you for advice. That's awesome. But it's not your position, is what I'm hearing, for you to step into their space. You are standing and shining, allowing them to do the work. Your second one is the Knight of Swords. There's a little bit of a maelstrom, though, that's coming forward. You might be guiding and being a guiding light for others, but your inner world is not the best because you're processing your own stuff. That's why you don't want to go over and actively seek out helping others. If they come to you, that's fine, but this is the universe's way of saying you're doing a lot of work yourself, and that's some inner turmoil, but your example is the shining light. It's the sun for others to see by and be guided through their processes. So fire, you've got an interesting little combo there because you're doing your work, which is causing a little bit of chaos, but you're being the great example for others as well. So Earth is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Let's see what the dragons have for our Earth family here. Okay, so they're going to dump all the cards all at once. It's interesting how these decks work. Sometimes you'll get like one card and it won't give you the second one. Other times it's like blah, 100 card pickup. Earth, you have a very interesting one to start off with. It's a major arcana, so these are major life lessons. This is the death card. It's number 13. Earth, right from the get-go here, the universe wants you to understand things have to come to an end. There are some habits, there are some patterns that need to be broken. It's not easy, it's not comfortable. You don't have to go in with a nuclear bomb to end these patterns, but they're wanting to bring your attention to the fact that there are things that are active in your energy right now that are not in your best interests. This is really a time to bring that stuff to the surface, figure out what it is that you need to adjust. It could be a bad habit, it could be giving too much of your energy away at work, could be ignoring work because you have something random you're doing like a video game. Those things are fine as long as they're in balance. When they start to become imbalanced and interfere and cause negative responses in you, that's where the problem is. And that's what the death card is saying. It's not saying that, oh, things have to die. There are some things that need to be brought to the forefront and processed out. Some habits need to be adjusted, and that's what they're saying is they're not going to pick anything specific. What they're saying is bring it up, look at your shadow, and see what your shadow brings forward for the next cutoff, what needs to be removed next. Because there's something that they're talking about, and your second card is the Five of Pentacles. So this is Five of Earth. This is yours, and they're showing a little bit of downtrodden. So one of the things they're saying that needs to end is this feeling of not worthy. It's interesting to listen to my guides sometimes because they bring forward a lot of information that's they just kind of overflow. They're saying that this death card is saying you feel these moments, and they're a little intense at times where you don't think you're worthy. I just don't deserve that. Well, of course so-and-so's gonna get that promotion. Why would I get it? I mean, I've only been here for 5 years longer than them, and I've worked twice as hard, but I mean, look at them. Why wouldn't they deserve it? The death card is saying enough of that crap. Enough with that. Stop it. You have every option and opportunity to move forward, and that's what they're calling you out to do, is let go of some of that heavier negative thinking. It's not beneficial. It doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form, Earth. And if you have fire friends, Earth, that would be a good thing to just observe what they're doing. Not so much go to them and be like, help me see the error of my way, because they're not going to. But if you are around them, just kind of watch them and see how they handle those situations, because that could actually show you some creative ways to maybe bring yourself into a higher state of self-esteem. And they're not saying that this is a blatant outward thing. What they're saying is this is some subconscious stuff that needs to be cleaned up. You're worthy, you're honorable, you have great talents and gifts. You just allow other people's light to shine without letting your own shine first, or in addition to. So just a couple things to think about there, Earth. Overall, it's a good thing to know that you have some patterns that need to be broke. This is just kind of a wake-up call for you. It's not, again, not negative, just a little heads up. So for our air family, we have Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. You have the Six of Swords. You are flying above your problems. The problems that you have been dealing with, things that are not maybe in their best state, we'll just use that term, they're starting to actually float away. This is that whole you can get a lot done by doing nothing type of energy. You have been doing your daily work, you've been going to work, you've been coming home, spending time. There's some things that are popping up emotionally, but they're fading through. You're doing a lot of they're saying a lot of inner work, a lot of dream work. So there's a lot of stuff going on that's in that more fluid emotion state that is starting to flow away. You're able to step above it, and that's giving you a much more clear view of the situation. You also have the Eight of Wands. As you're processing, you're kind of rising above these situations. They're saying that you almost at times feel like you're the spotlight, like everyone's looking at you. What my guides are saying is, to a point, they're watching, because they're curious about the outcome. How is it that you're making this look so easy? Because you're flying above the situation. You're seeing it from the bigger picture, and that's allowing you to take something that may have been a big deal to other people, but you're able to put it on the right pedestal because you're flying above it. You don't need that to be so dramatic. And with all eyes kind of looking to you, they're saying there could be a little bit of a little bit of slings and arrows type stuff being hurled. Like, I can't believe they just are dealing with that so easy. It's not fair. Life's not fair. That's just the way things work. The balance is very tricky because your balance, air, is going to look so much different from someone else's. And what they're bringing forward with this particular set of cards is you're above it. You can see the broader picture that allows you to see a little bit more clear. It also allows you to dodge their slings and arrows. They don't really matter because you're just that much above that situation. That's not an ego thing. It's just you've healed, you've grown, and you can see it, so why be upset by it? So let's take a peek at our water family here to wrap things up. Water, you have number 20, the Judgment card. Water covers Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. I could barely get the word judgment out of my mouth before the phrase that came to mind is, "It is not your place to judge others." Pretty much calling water signs out right now. You have this ability to see intuitively what's going on beneath the surface of other people. You have this gift of understanding emotions and also manipulating them to a point. And what this card is saying is enough judging other people. Put the mirror up. Look at yourself. What is it you want to fix? What is it you want to heal? Don't worry about what that other person is doing. We're being, like I said, first phrase, stop judging other people. It's not your place. It is not your situation. What needs to be judged is the balance. Finding that balance of what works best in your world. What works best is tapping into the flow, tapping into the energy of the Lord and Lady, coming into that understanding of where you exist within that bubble. That's the energy that they're wanting you to think about and kind of look at. Work with the lunar energy. The moon's attached to water more than any other sign. This is your time to shine in that aspect, but it's not shine for others. It's shine on what you've got going on. Don't look at other people. Water loves to go poking at others. This particular energy right now is saying, nope, it's time to look inside. Don't worry about them. Your second card, wow, water, is the Hierophant. It's another major arcana. So these are water. This is just basically a gigantic call out. You have the knowledge, you have the gifts, you have the skills to go through these processes. What you are not given the right to do is judge others. They can come to you, just like with fire, and ask for help, suggestions, guidance. And you are allowed in a neutral state to offer that. The minute you apply good or bad from your perspective, not the best option is what I'm hearing. So this is that time where you look at yourself, do the inner work. You're doing that and you're finding balance. You're judging, but you're judging yourself, not other people. That's not your job. You're in here. You're working with the Hierophant, which is a knowledge seeker. They want knowledge. They also carry a great amount of knowledge with them. They've been through, even though this is not the pattern in the tarot, they understand the hermit of drawing away and study. The Hierophant is still studying, but now they're willing to go out and work with others. The trick is, let them come to you. And that is what the advice is that's coming forward for water. Overall, intuitively for everybody, this is all 4 signs of the elemental energies. We'll take water off the screen here. This is a great time to do shadow work, this period of about 2 weeks here. This is also a time to be very gentle with yourself, be very compassionate with others. Do the things that bring you peace. I will not say joy. I will not say pleasure. That is not what you're doing this month. Not this, like I said, this is them coming in. This is a time for finding peace, finding balance. Epsom salt baths, using frankincense and myrrh as incenses, as oils on your skin, especially on the pressure points around the wrists and neck areas. Finding yourself in that sacred space of healing and working with your guides to bring yourself to that more peaceful, healed state. So that feels like that's everything they want to bring forward, but really use this energy to kind of clean things up a little bit inside. If you're still working on your spring cleaning, I am, you can incorporate inner spring cleaning with outer spring cleaning. But just really bring that into this play. And with, like I said, with the big planets, outer planets in retrograde, this can go on for months or years. This is really indicating this is the start of a cycle. There's a lot of cycles, but this one is a deeper one. This is a very personal one of kind of rooting through those things that we've been trying to hide. Bring them to the surface. Be very gentle with yourself. Be very compassionate with others. Understand that boundaries are healthy. I'm not saying drop those, keep those in place, but maybe seeing where they need to be adjusted a little bit because something may not be as balanced as you would like it to be. With that, I will let you guys go. Have a great rest of this week and enjoy that full moon. Go out and gaze at her for a little bit and see what messages she has to say. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, comment down below any thoughts, feelings, opinions, suggestions that you got from the video. Also, if you think other people may benefit from anything that was said here, please share this. And with that, I'll let you guys go. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video.